Good evening, Lake Orion. Welcome to the second annual Lake Orion Football Preview Show on ONTV. I'd like to introduce the guests for this week's show. I'd like to introduce Lake Orion varsity coach Chris Bell. I'd like to introduce, obviously, the co-host on Between Taormina, Sammy Taormina. And also three famous Lake Orion alumni, Kyle Wood.
Pleasure to be on.
Kevin Cronin, and Robert Aiello. All three of them have been state champions. We're on the 2010 state championship team. Now, Coach, I want to recap. Before we start with this year's team, I want to talk about last year's team a little bit. They went 11-2, 6-1 in the OAA Red. They had a great win against Oxford, and went through Troy, Athens, West Bloomfield, Stony Creek, Troy, and Rochester very impressive wins. Also Pontiac, I got to add Pontiac to that mix. Played Clarkston, could have won either way. That didn't go our way. And then had a nice bounce back at Farmington, especially the second half. And then in the playoffs, you went through what you call the Storm of Macomb, Sterling Heights, Stevenson, Utica Eisenhower, and Macomb, Dakota, before playing Detroit Cass Tech, giving Cass Tech, which I feel was their toughest test in the playoffs. Can you recap this or what happened last season?
You know, last season was we had a group of guys that worked very, very hard, and all we can ever ask of a group of guys is to get the most out of their ability. And I felt those guys did that last year. You know, we didn't play perfect. I thought we started kind of slow against Oxford. We played pretty well defensively, but offensively we started slow. But once we got it going, we became a very explosive football team. We continued to play great defense all through the season. Offensively, we got better, and we were putting up a lot of points and a lot of yards and doing the things that we were capable of doing. And then came into the tail end of the season and played very hard against Clarkston. Had plenty of opportunities to win the game and went toe to toe, and it was a great football game with both teams slugging it out. You know, more of a defensive game. That's a credit to both teams the way they play defense. We had opportunities to put them away and didn't do so. Let them hang around, and they put a drive together at the end, converted some big plays, and ended up winning the game. So, but a credit to our kids. You know, it was very disappointing, very heartbreaking. But you know, they recognized that there were more battles to fight, and hopefully we're gonna have another shot at them. So, obviously, we went down to Farmington and we were in a hole. I mean, Farmington was taking it to us, and they were a very good team. And we hit a long pass there from Derek to Chaz Miller, and Chaz took it about 60 yards for a touchdown, gave us a little spark before halftime. And then we came out and dominated the second half and put up over 35 points in the second half and rolled in that game. And then we continued to play well in the playoffs. You know, had another slugfest like we always do against Utica Eisenhower. Won a very exciting game there. And then I probably played, offensively maybe our best game of the season against Macomb, Dakota, because Dakota was a very good team. They come out and put up 50 points on the Macomb, Dakota football team. I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. They were very good. And then we went down to Cass Tech, and our kids played their hearts out. You know, once again, we battled. We got down a little bit. We fought back. We tied the game up. We had opportunities to win the game. You know, even we were down 28-27. We got the ball back with 5 minutes to play, and we had some opportunities to make some plays. And against teams like that, you have to capitalize those opportunities, and we didn't do so. So, ended up losing that football game. But you walk off the field, and it's you're just proud of a group of guys. You know, they gave it everything they had. They did it the right way. They played big at big time, big moments. So obviously our goal was obviously another state championship, and we felt we were good enough to compete with the best teams in the state. I think we proved it. Just on that day, Cass Tech was a little bit better. Cass Tech wasn't a slouch; they were pretty darn good.
Right.
So very proud of those guys. But but that was last year, and I think that's the whole thing coming into this year. That was last year. You know, those trophies are in a trophy case. They're locked up there forever. You know, their championships are etched up on the board in the gym, and that's last year. So, we go into this year. It's a clean slate. We blow that thing up because we're no longer district champions. We're no longer regional champions. We're 0-0. We're just like everybody else.
Well, Coach, last season, of course, your offense scored 478 points last year, which was 36.7 points per game, which was first in the OAA overall. In league play in the Red, you were actually also first in the league, also at 295 points, and 42.1 points a game. Clarkson was second on that list. You know, a lot of people look at the offense last year when you guys played Oxford, going through that sluggish start. You know, was there anything to mention during that game, that halftime speech that fired up the guys from a season ago at that game?
No, at halftime we made some adjustments and we actually switched schemes. We went to our full house scheme, and Oxford hadn't seen that and had not been able to prepare for that. And we just, I didn't feel like that we were doing a good job blocking at the point of attack. We were getting beat at the point of attack. And so, we felt like that's just what we needed to do. We needed to play simple football, use some misdirection, but get after them and force our guys. We were either going to be physical or we were going to get beat. And our guys stepped up and we made it simple. But, I think we wore them down. And once our guys got some confidence, we once again, taking into consideration last year, game one, we had 5 new starters up front. That's the first. We had 5 guys starting fresh on the offensive line, and that takes some time. But once they got some confidence, and obviously we had Jacob Miller back there, and Jacob got it going, and so once we got Oxford on their heels, our guys went after it. So it's more of a scheme change, and then and you also see great improvement between week 1 and week 2. Mm-hmm. We saw some things. We weren't doing a good job of blocking on the perimeter. We weren't doing a good job of blocking on the edge. Oxford was doing a nice job of playing our perimeter game. So, we decided to make some adjustments and go right at them, and it paid off for us. And and they'll be ready for that this year. So, we're going to have to do some things a little bit differently.
Guys, what was your guys' take? Kevin, Rob, and Kyle. What was your guys' take of last season? You guys went to a couple games.
I thought they had something that our team lacked. Our senior year, I could see the more unity on their team, and like you said, Coach Rose talking about the offensive line. That's my biggest key to a team, because I was an offensive lineman when I was there, is if you can get an offensive lineman to mold and gel together, you can pretty much do anything on the offensive side of the ball. And that's the biggest thing that I think that team was able to accomplish that, let's say, our year wasn't able to accomplish, but they were successful in. And that's what set them above the rest, is the offensive line. And how they go, that's how the team goes.
I think last year that what separated them from us was we would be in games but wouldn't make the big plays to put us ahead and make us win that game. And I guess big players show up in big games, make big plays, and that's what they did last year. I think they had a good year last year.
I thought last year's group of seniors, as far as a year-round commitment to off-season training and strength, speed, training, getting bigger, stronger, faster, I thought that was probably, I've only seen so many years of the program, but I probably thought that was one of the better groups. I thought your guys up front were in the weight room every single morning, every single summer workout, they were all there. And, if you look at that work and you see that happening, and we did, we were the year before them, and you see that and you're not really surprised, because those are some hard-working kids. Also, you played outstanding defense all year long with them for the most part, and I think with that being said, you had some great guys on defense, and defense wins championships. So,
speaking of defense, Coach, last year you allowed 179 points, which was 13 points a game last season. In league play, it was just 75 points, which was 10.5 points a game. You're second in that behind Clarkston. How do you feel about this defense from a season ago that can turn around into this season?
Well, Kyle said it best. You look back on all the years that we've had great seasons, we've played great defense. And if you can't stop people, then it's going to be a long season. So, that's where it starts. We at Lake Orion, we've played great defense. Dave Tooley does a great job with our defense, and these guys all know that, and the intensity that he brings. And our players play with his intensity. So that's where it's going to start. We've got to be great on defense. And that's our priority. We have talent on offense. And everything's got to work: offense, defense, special teams. But it starts on defense, and and that's about playing with urgency. It's about running to the football. It's about becoming great tacklers. It's about being in position and doing your job. So there's a lot that goes into it, and Robert really hit it on the head too, or Kevin rather, talking about how the team learned to play together. It's a process. Our guys learn to play together. You can have a star athlete out there, but if you don't have 10 other guys working along with him, it creates holes in your defense. So I think that's going to be our strength this year. We've got a lot of guys who are very intelligent, that play hard, but it remains to be seen. We've got to play with great urgency, and we've got to get a lot of hats to the football.
Switching gears, we're going to talk about this year's team a little bit. We've got Sammy's got a list of concerns that he wanted to address. The first one is quarterback. Obviously, you lose a great quarterback in Derek DeLaura, but you return Kyle Bell and Connor Grant. Both of them had seen time as quarterback. What's your take about the whole quarterback situation? You don't have to confirm it here.
Yeah. Well, in terms of our quarterback, I got two guys, obviously Kyle and Connor, who are both very good quarterbacks. They're both smart kids. And the talent that we surround them with, they don't have to be drop-back guys who are going to throw it 30 times a game. They've got to be game managers. They've got to get the ball into the hands of the guys with speed, get it to them in space, and let them go. We put a lot on our quarterback in terms of checking us into the right run plays. They're both capable of running the offense. I expect both of them to be starters for us on defense. It'll be the first time we've ever had a quarterback going both ways. As we go through the preseason, we'll see if one emerges over the other. That one will be our starter, but the other one is going to play because having them both start on defense. They got to have them both ready because they're both one play away from not being in there. So we're very solid at quarterback. The guy that's in there, whether it be Connor, whether it be Kyle, we're going to be in good shape. And like I said, our quarterback, the system we play with, the talent we have, our quarterback doesn't have to win us games. He has to make sure he doesn't lose us games by turning the ball over. So, like I said, we have a lot of talent to surround them with. They just have to be good game managers.
Very similar to Michigan State. A couple of years ago when they had Kirk Cousins and Keith Nickel play. It's basically the similar role here. Of course, my next concern actually goes to the offensive line. Because, like you said, you had 5 new starters from a year ago.
Yep.
And you're basically replacing at least a couple of them on that line from a season ago.
Sure.
How would you feel about this year's group coming into this year's group in the line?
Well, we replaced 4. Nick Sally started every game for us last year and did a great job at left guard. He comes back. And then we have Tom Iselli, played in several games last year.
Yep.
Ryan Solarzik had a great year last year as well as a backup and got some good game experience as well. So I've got 3 guys who, Nick as a starter and the other 2 have game experience. So we're not as raw as we were. Now you throw in there the guys that we've had this summer and all the work they've done this summer in our camps and our academies. We've got about 9 or 10 guys that are going to give us a solid offensive line group. I expect us to be very good. So we're ahead of the game. There's going to be competition at those positions, which is very good because you want the guys competing. I expect us to be probably a little bit bigger than we were last year, and I expect us to be as good.
Kevin, you were...
Kyle and I have been discussing the offensive line quite a bit lately. We see there's some younger sophomores that we're kind of curious about how their development's been, and if potentially I've noticed that good teams become great teams as offensive linemen start when they're juniors, maybe sophomores. Sometimes they're not developed enough to start as sophomores, but as they come up and as they meld together on the offensive line, that's how you get great offensive lines rather than sticking 5 seniors in there and hoping it works out like last year worked out. But do you see the potential for any sophomores or juniors to make a play to start?
There's some juniors that are definitely in the mix, and I do have some sophomores that are up with me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll need them. One will probably more in the mix on the defensive line. It's a matter of they're sophomores. They just have to learn how to play, learn how to play at this level. But at the high school level, in terms of a good program, you want to be senior dominated. So you have a lot of seniors. Your juniors are learning under the seniors. So as the seniors move on, it's next man up. And that's a sign of a lot of good programs out there. And I think that's the way our secondary is going to be this year. We've got 4 guys that were the understudies to all the seniors that played last year. And they got a lot of time in practice, a lot of game time. Well, those seniors moved on, next men up. So they're ready to go. So the same thing on the offensive line. So with Iselli and Solarzik, they got a lot of time, a lot of experience. The other guys, we have some juniors that will contend, and I would not be surprised to see a couple juniors starting up there just because, it's coming through the program, as you guys know, if they're the best players, they're going to play. But I have some seniors that are going to have something to say about it, and they're going to have the opportunities to compete. But I think we're going to have a very good group. And it's also nice to have some depth. If we have some guys and we have some depth, we can play more guys, we can keep them fresh. Yeah. For example, in the playoff game against Cass Tech, Zach Elin rolls his ankle, and second series, he's out the rest of the game. So Tom Iselli played the whole game, against Cass Tech. So you have to have those guys ready to go.
going along with what Coach Bell was saying, I think when you look at the jump of the speed of the game, we talk about that a lot, from the JV to the varsity level, it's quite the change. So if you have a year for juniors where they're comfortable with senior players in front of them, a year for guys to bulk up and get ready physically and technically, especially at the offensive line position, I think it's safe to say that's probably one of the toughest technical positions. So if you have the juniors learning that technique and kind of getting the schemes down, so by the time their senior year rolls around, they're ready to go, I think that's a good thing, and that's kind of something that's been going on the last few years is senior-laden offensive lines, and I think it's worked well for the most part. So,
Robert, you have anything?
I was just gonna say that it's a totally different game. It's way more physical. It's faster. Just mentally, it's the whole playbook, understanding the playbook, everything that you have to do. It's much more difficult than being on a JV team.
Another concern that I have this year, of course, and I know, Coach, this is on defense. The defense, especially on the linebacker and the secondary. Last year, you lose Derek Williams and you lose Nick Booker, 2 playmakers. How are you gonna figure a way to replace those two guys?
You lose those 2 guys. Those were 2 that, if we look at all-time Lake Orion teams, those 2 are probably going to factor in on our defense, in terms of a strong safety as an outside linebacker. And they were playmakers. They were all over the field. So it's a challenge to replace those guys. It's going to come down to, as a unit, we just have to be as strong, and as guys doing their jobs. And we've got some guys, at that flex linebacker position. We've got 3 or 4 guys that are going to battle for that spot, and some good athletes there. We're a little thinner in the secondary. Some of our guys, we got the guys that I said, those juniors coming up, but we may have some of our skill guys like Chris Lee or Corey Esther backing those guys up as well that may see time on that side as well for depth purposes until the young guys are ready to go. So we have talent, and it's our job as coaches to also you tailor your schemes based upon the talent you have. If you've got a player like Nick Booker, you might be able to do some different things. Some things maybe we may not be able to do this year. But also, I like our guys. I like who we have. And I think our guys have worked hard in the offseason. I think they're going to be, it's great to see. One of the great things of coaching is to see a player improve from a junior to a senior. Because they're totally different players. So I can't expect the guy playing that spot to be Nick Booker. I just expect him to be himself. But I also expect him to be pretty darn good.
And then my last concern, of course, Robert Io, you played this position, wide receiver.
Yep.
What do you think about that?
Well, wide receiver.
Because we're mostly a running team, you know what I mean. But you got to.
We have different wide receivers, absolutely. We do throw the ball. I mean, Derek threw it last year for over 1,200 yards, and we throw the ball. And if teams want to involve the secondary and stack up the box, we're going to throw the football. We've got guys that can get down the field. That's our advantage. So. Zach Green has had a great summer, and he did a great job last year developing as a junior. He's ready to go. We have a log jam at our slot position as well. So Zach Arnold, who can fly, has also been working at a wide receiver position, so he can play the slot and wide receiver position. My son Kyle, who's one of our quarterbacks, obviously, and one of our safeties, has also been playing wide receiver as well. So when Kyle's playing quarterback, Kyle can play out there. I've got a couple young guys as well that have been working. So we've got 5 or 6 different guys that can all run, that are all good athletes, that will do the job out there.
Okay. Well, we're going to briefly talk about the freshman and JV teams. Last year, the JV team, a lot of the juniors that are coming on this year's program finished 5-4. I noticed there were a couple coaching changes in JV. Freshmen had a pretty good year last year themselves. What's your take about the JV and freshman programs?
Well, both in terms of, let me first say, in terms of coaching changes, no, we had a couple guys that had job opportunities. Blaine Stormer, for example, is now enrolled in the State Police Academy. Is a great coach for us. Devon Mitchell, who's our defensive line coach, also had a great job opportunity. So some of your lower level stuff, you have some of that turnover. But we were able to add some tremendous coaches to that. Both staffs are in great shape. It's about development at that age. It's about, we want them to be successful. I love nothing more than going to watch our freshman kids win and our JV kids win. I love it. But by the same token, it's about those guys learning how to play, learning our system. And the JV had a very solid year. And like I said, a lot of those juniors will be in the mix with us this year. The freshmen, You know, it's a very good group of freshmen, and our incoming 8th graders are outstanding. I think that one of the biggest shifts you're going to see out of those groups that we haven't had in a long time is they're huge. They are giant up front, you know, in terms of when we see the guys, like we saw some of those lines we used to have in the early 2000s. So that
I remember. I remember those
that
days.
Clarkson line last year, the Eisenhower line, that's going to be us in a couple years. Our freshmen and our JV guys are giants.
That's exciting.
So they're also athletic. So we got, it just goes in cycles. So we have a lot of those big guys coming, some good skilled athletes as well. So, you know, I expect our younger levels to do very well.
Wonderful. That's what do you guys think, Sammy? What do you think about freshmen and JV? Because you and I are announcing freshman JV games this year.
Yeah. Well, this is very interesting because, you know, freshmen, of course, this year, you know, very, very talented. You know, I look at it here. I know a couple good running backs. Of course, I coach them in shot. They're going to be good. You got a couple good players. I think the defense will be stellar. I think the offense will be fine. JV, of course, you know, you got a good quarterback. I think you're in good shape, both freshmen and JV.
Our strengths are numbers. We have so many kids, and we play a lot of kids as well, so that keeps the program strong. I mean, we go to a lot of different programs where their numbers are falling off, and you know, and ours stay strong. I think it helps keep our program strong.
One thing Lake Orion takes a lot of pride in is depth.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree.
What are the numbers looking like? Are there going to be 2 freshman teams like you've sometimes done the past?
We've done that.
years?
Last will be the 4th year.
Yeah.
You know, we'll see for sure. Tomorrow we have our equipment issue and all our parent meetings, and we'll know for sure. You know, if we're above 60 on the freshmen, which I expect us to be, then we will try to pick up extra freshman games where you know they'll start out together just because the first week is too hard to try to prepare 2 teams, and as we get going. You know, there's a lot of freshman team programs out there that drop their schedule because they can't field a freshman team, so we'll pick up some of those games. It just gets more of our freshmen on the field, and you guys know when we can split teams, we split them evenly and equally, and you know, it gets more kids playing.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, the best way to really, I mean, you can't simulate in practice an exact game situation. You can have intense team sessions and things like that, but the best way to get kids better is, you know, getting them on the field. So if you can split teams and get 2 games for the freshmen, you know, it's certainly not a disadvantage for the program at all.
Robert?
Oh, I agree with Kyle exactly. I think the more game experience you have, the better off the program will be. So.
All right, we got to take our first commercial break. We'll be right back with the 2nd annual Lake Orion Football Preview Show here on ON TV.
Hello, I'm Mike Bouchard, the Oakland County Sheriff. There's a big problem that faces all the communities in America today, and that's abuse of legitimate prescription drugs. Sometimes they're left in the home when a loved one passes away, or they're in the medicine cabinet for someone else, and a youngster in the home steals it and they abuse it. It's one of the fastest growing drug abuses that we see in our community and across the country. Secondly, we see these drugs oftentimes when they're no longer utilized being flushed down the drain, and we're seeing higher levels of residual pharmaceuticals in our waterways and our streams. So, to solve 2 problems with one effort, we partnered with Home Instead Senior Care to start a program called Operation Medicine Cabinet to get those drugs out of the homes, out of the hands of youngsters, and out of the waterway, and safely and environmentally destroy them. Learn more about the program at OperationMedicineCabinetMI.com and be part of the solution. Thank you.
We are back with the Lake Orion Football Preview Show here on ON TV. Guys, how are you doing? Coach? Kyle?
Great.
Robert?
Can't
Kevin?
complain.
Wonderful. I'd like to talk about the theme for this year's team, We Are LO. How did that come about? It's very Penn State-like.
Yeah. Well, it's and obviously I wore the shirt that the kids are wearing, but it's the theme is actually We Are. You know, LO is a given. LO is there are certain things that we stand for as a football program, as a school, as a community. That's Lake Orion, so we'll always be Lake Orion. But We Are is an unanswered question, and sometimes, especially teams following a great year, those teams are very quick to anoint themselves. You know, they hang on to what had happened last year, but they forget the work that went into that. So right now, we are an unanswered question. We don't know what we are. That's yet to be determined. And we're not going to anoint ourselves. We will be what people will say about us. So when we get done playing people, then we'll know who we are. So the whole thing is, it's an unanswered question. And also, I know it's hard to see, but if you're on one of the sleeves, it says choose. That's the other part of it, is it's not by chance. We will be who we choose to be. And that's based on our work ethic, how we play, our preparation. So we have a choice in this. We can be who we want to be based on the choices we make. So that's where the whole theme comes in. We've got a lot of guys competing for positions. So if they want to be the starter, then be the best guy. How do you be the best guy? Play the best. How do you play the best? Practice the hardest. Do what you need to do. You can make those choices, and that will determine who we are. So it all fits together.
You guys were Team 68 last year.
Yes.
You know, so now this is 69, so this is the team this year.
Well, the problem is we have to reinvent ourselves every year. We can't, it wasn't to just go with, another Team 69. It's too much like last year. Last year was Team 68. That's in the trophy case. That's their identity. That's who they were. We're not that. We're somebody totally different. So we have to be different. We'll have to figure out who we're going to be. And we'll know that as we go through practice and the work that we put in.
Okay. Kevin?
I don't have much to say about the motto. I mean,
Okay.
ours I like we are. I think it's unique. Definitely like what it stands for. I mean, I've always been a fan of the mottos. Kyle and I used to, senior year after football, we'd always wake up and text each other, let's win the day today. Or we say that occasionally in college when we're going to a big exam. I mean, it's something not only just for football season, but they're life things. We are. That's, what are you going to be? Your motto goes through life. That's my opinion.
Well said.
Rob?
Well said. I like the motto. I think it's very good, and I think going back to what he said about reinventing yourself, not dwelling on the team that came before you, is what we did our senior year. We won the state championship our junior year, and we kind of thought we were entitled to, we're Lake Orion, we're going to come out and beat everybody, and that's not the case. You really got to put the work in, and I think this team this year, from what I've heard, has been putting in a lot of work. So look for good things from them.
I like we are. I think it's kind of cool how it leaves we are and then fill in the blank. We are hopefully OA Red champs. That's always the goal every year. We are we are what we are. It's kind of like a book, and it's going to write itself as the season goes on. So I like it.
Awesome. I'm a big fan of that shirt too. I'm a big fan of We Are. I love the theme. It's a really good theme, Coach. It's a really good theme. The second thing I want to talk about before we go over the schedules is jersey changes. There were some jersey changes. Last year, you guys wore the old Nike greens with the white pants for most of the season last year. There was a little bit of a jersey incident. What happened, Coach?
Well, Mr. Reese does a great job with all his athletic teams, putting us on a rotation. And every team, every 3 years is the goal. And that's about whether a varsity uniform will last. Well, when we ordered new jerseys in our rotation, the Nike whites came in, but we found out that the Nike greens weren't coming. Something about they didn't have the right material at the right plant, they couldn't do it, and so we weren't getting our greens. So, obviously this year the greens are in. We also they gave us a green jersey. We wore the green jersey with they call it the Syracuse jersey with the 2 stripes on the sleeve.
Yep.
They gave us that one last year to try to to give us something, so we had a green jersey to wear at home. So basically this year we're getting the completion of last year's order, which is giving us more options. So it's not getting new uniforms every year. We've only paid for a white and a green. We've got some additional jerseys on top of that because of their mistakes.
Right.
So so the hard part is that we haven't gotten things on time. The good part is they're making up for it by giving us additional things at no other cost. So
It's a good deal.
that's worked out well.
Well, let's see here. I mean, I've looked at the greens. Your new green jerseys actually look like the modified version of the New York Jets. You know what I mean? Like the white with the white. Last year, you guys had the white with the green shoulders.
Yes.
And I looked at this year's whites, and they and I noticed the greens are gone this year.
Well, once again, this is a Nike slip-up. This is the white jerseys from last year didn't hold up the way they should hold up. The wear and tear, they had some holes in them. So Nike said, we're going to replace the jerseys for you. So they sent us a second set of jerseys, of whites.
Okay.
Supposed to be the same jerseys. Well, they forgot to put in the green panel. So we'll have a plain white jersey. We'll have the whites with the green.
Okay.
And we have 2 green jerseys. We have the green with the white, and we have the green with the 2 stripes.
Wow.
So we have 4 different sets of jerseys, 4 jerseys that we can wear, which will last us a long time. The good thing is we've only paid for 2.
Okay.
But they look sharp. It gives us the kids obviously really like it.
Oh, yeah.
And it will look very nice. And the white jerseys, the all white, I think is very sharp. You know, we used to pride ourselves. We used to have a motto with our defense back in the days when Oklahoma was really good. We referred to ourselves as Green Oklahoma because our uniforms were similar.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that white's taking us back to Green Oklahoma. So we'll see if we can get that back.
Okay, here's the $10,000 question.
Yes.
Will the names be on the jerseys this year?
Yeah, we will put, well, not all of them, but our primary jerseys will have nameplates on the back, yes.
Okay.
All right, before Sammy goes cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over here, I want to talk about the schedule. This year's schedule, obviously coming out, open up at Oxford. Last time we went to Oxford, it was well, I won't go there. And we have 2 home games, it's Troy, Athens, and West Bloomfield. And then road games for 3 against Stony Creek, Troy at Ford Field, and then at Rochester. Then we host Pontiac for homecoming, at Clarkston, and then the crossover game at home. Now, I want to start with Oxford a little bit because at Oxford, it is a rivalry game on the blue turf last time. It is a we have the 00 trophy right now. It is a trophy defense. What does that rivalry mean to you and the players and to alumni?
Well, you know, we'll go with it's an opportunity to go get the trophy. Last year's team won the trophy. This year's team hasn't won it.
Right.
So we're not defending anything. We got to go get it. So that's step number 1. So it's an opportunity. You know, you look at the schedule. Our schedules, I think, will be very difficult because most of those teams are much improved. Oxford last year was, a lot of those guys are juniors. They returned their entire backfield. Here's the deal with Oxford. You go to Oxford, if you can't stop the run, they're going to beat you. If we can stop their running game, we're going to win the game. So that's what it comes down to. There's nothing fancy. They're going to come right at you. And if they can run the ball, they make it a long night. So it's a great game because it's a great game to start because, you know, that's you have to dig in and we'll see how physical we are. And if we can stop the run. Because in high school football, if you can stop the run, you've got a chance to do everything else. If you can't stop the run in high school football, it's going to be a long year.
Yep.
So, you know, I think we struggled the last time we were there. You know, now this is sometimes what happens. You know, we started 11 guys week 1. Out of those 11, we probably only had 3 that started week 2. So with the short preseason, sometimes you don't get a chance to evaluate players. So we go with what we think is the best we got. We see them in game conditions, they don't perform. A lot of times, other guys are getting opportunities. So, and then once those other guys got opportunities, we start playing a little bit better, and now the defense came together somewhat and played a little bit better. But you know, we got to work it out for us. They're going to be very good, and but by the same token, they got to work it out for them too. We're bringing a lot of weapons. You know, we'll go play anywhere, and that's the greatest thing about the experience that our kids have had in past years, from playing at Ford Field, from playing in the playoffs, from going and playing in the semis. We'll play anywhere. We don't care. We're going to go play. Football's football. The field is the same size. It doesn't matter. You know, it's going to be a great environment for both teams. That's part of the fun. So we'll go play.
You are right. The schedule is brutal. It's like if you take a look later on my Dragon's Den blog, of course, I've considered Lake Orion. I put them in the nightmare schedule column on my blog. The schedule, I think the toughest game you guys might have this year. I mean, like counting Oxford, Troy, Clarkston. I'm going to say Stony Creek in because Stony Creek's going to be riding up a lot of emotion coming in. This is going to be one of their biggest games that stadium's ever had. I mean, like, I think, and if you look at Stony Creek, of course, runs a triple option attack. You know Brad Zuby very well. I think, you know, the schedule's brutal. You know, you got to play Oxford, and then, like, you know, the crossover, I'm hoping, God forbid, I hope not, you don't go this, but I hope we don't finish 5-4, you know? I mean, like, because I know you've only missed the playoffs one time in your career, Coach, you know? So it'll be interesting this year.
Yeah, it's a tough schedule. There's no guarantees, and a successful season necessarily, I can't put a record on it. I want us to be as good as we can be. And if it's 5-4, it's 5-4. If it's 9-0, it's 9-0. I want us to be as good as we can be. By the same token, I mean all those games and those environments do nothing but get you prepared for other games to play. You know, I go back several years ago in 2008 when we made our first run to Ford Field. If you take a look at the schedule that our kids played through those games, you know, starting out with, and we hit the gauntlet of, we played a very good Rochester Adams team. Then we played Clarkston. Then we played Romeo at home, I believe. Then we had Eisenhower, then Romeo, then on the road against Sterling Heights Stevenson, and then Dearborn Fortson. I mean, that's a run. That's 6 games of some of the premier programs in the state every year. So, but you got better. That gets you better for the next ball game. So let's put it this way: if we don't qualify for the playoffs based on our league schedule, then we don't deserve to be there because we're not going to do anything anyway. So it's a matter of, if we're good enough, we'll be there. And the better schedule will prepare us. If we're not good enough, we won't be there. So I don't worry about that.
Gentlemen, what do you guys think about this year's schedule? Kevin?
I'm very excited for this year. Going back to Oxford, I'd love some sweet redemption from our not good first trip there. But my personal excitement game is the Clarkston game, Week 8, which is always a great game. But this year I think there's a little bit extra because Clarkston has that almost 03 Lake Orion aura of the Division I prospects on their team, that they have 5 or 6 guys on their team that will probably be going to Division I football teams. So they have that early 2000s Lake Orion powerhouse looking like. So I think that's going to be a great game. And if that is a win, and Southfield also does as well as I think they may do, I think the Lake Orion Southfield game Week 9 could also be one of the top games in the state.
At Lake Orion.
Yeah, at Lake Orion. That could be, that's a big if. If we get to that point, I'm looking forward to a potential game like that, because Southfield also is loaded with Division I talent. Malik McDowell, the other end, who's going to Michigan, and they have a bunch of loads of other talent. So the whole schedule is just exciting. And I didn't know, you guys were talking to me about Stony Creek, how many returners they return. They could be a pretty good team. I know Stony Creek traditionally isn't that good, or they haven't been. But if they return more starters, definitely. I think that could be a trap game, something to watch out for.
Robert?
You know, I really like the schedule. I think it's going to be a tough schedule. You just take it game by game. And I really like, the Oxford game, obviously, great rivalry game. And it's kind of a culture shock. You know, your first game, it's packed stands, huge game, tons of reporters, fans, everything. So, you know, it gets you ready for the rest of the season. You know, it gets you that big game experience. And I think the better the schedule, I think it'll benefit Lake Orion in the long run.
I think looking at this schedule here, I like it. I'm fond of what they're looking at this year. I like the Oxford game 1. I think it's a good team to play in your first week, because you know what you're going to get from Oxford. They're going to try to come out and they're going to try to go out there and they're going to try to out-tough you. They're going to try to pound the rock. And you know, from a strategical point,
They will run some bootleg.
They will run some bootleg with Glacier, yes. But you know what they're going to throw at you for the most part, and you're going to say, hey, can we go out there and stop it? You know, and I like that. I think it's cool to see the team making the trip to Ford Field for the Troy game again. I think that's awesome for the kids and for the community. And Clarkston should be a great matchup this year. They've got a good team, it's looking like, and the crossover is always interesting. I think the crossover was a great addition to the schedule a couple of years back, and the OAA White has many different very good football teams. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see who we draw that week too. So, looking forward to it.
For the crossover Week 9, you like the crossover Week 9, Coach? What do you think about the crossover with it being Week 9, or do you think it should go back to Week 8? Do you want to stay at Week 9?
No, I think it's great Week 9, because I think it should be it's basically a county championship, and I'd like to see it build as that, and you know, even get to the point where we're going to play the championship game on a neutral site and make it a big game. Maybe play it on a Saturday, very similar to what the Catholic League does with the Prep Bowl. I think it gives you another thing to play for during the season. So I think it's you know, I would like to see it become a bigger game than what it is if you make it to that championship game. So I think it's great Week 9. That's where it belongs, because there's too many times when, Week 8, you still have a couple undefeated teams out there.
Yep.
And so you get into tiebreakers and who plays who and all that. So, you know what, let's play at Week 9 the way we should. And also, as well, you're playing in that environment, okay? It gets you ready for Week 10 and beyond. So I think it's a great thing.
You look at the, I think it's an interesting. I do agree with you. I do like it because you get to play some teams you don't really even see. You know what I mean?
Farmington,
like
good
last year,
example.
Last year, of course, going over to Farmington, that was a interesting experience.
I think it was the
you
first
know.
time Lake Orion and Farmington ever played each other.
Yep, and then you got to see. I mean, like it brings some different teams out. You have to play like a different style of play, but you know, if Orion played Adams this year, you know that would be a very interesting game, especially with that rivalry. I mean, like it just brings something new to the table. That's what, and I do like that that concept of having to play that type of style. You
All right,
might-
we like it. We like playing different teams. It was fun to go down to Farmington last year, and Farmington's a heck of a football team. They were very good. But it's, you know, we like playing different teams and different, especially at the end of the season, because it also, you know, it also separates the, you know, regardless, you know, the odds of us seeing Clarkson Week 1 and Week 2 in the playoffs are still pretty high, even though we went different directions last year. That's a rarity. So
that
it's
was a
nice to
shock.
play. It's I don't care who we're playing, but nobody enjoys going back to back.
Right, that's true.
It's like it's
Tough.
nice to have different
very tough
different
back-to-back.
opponents to play. Somebody in between there to give you a break from each other.
Kevin, what do you guys think about? You think it should stay Week 9 or go up to Week 8?
I had never thought of it from the county championship point of view, and when I heard that, I was like, wow, that's a great idea. Like, the Prep Bowl is a huge thing. Everyone wants to be Catholic League champion, and that's a huge thing. And if they create an Oakland County championship, that's awesome. Play it on a Saturday afternoon. That'd be great for the OAA, and I think it'd do nothing but help the OAA in general.
We'll give experience to play on a Saturday, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To play, I know last year Orion played Pontiac on a homecoming, you know. We had to play Detroit Cass Tech at 1 o'clock. Playing Saturday at 1 o'clock, it should help you out, especially when you go deep far.
It's a lot different playing at 1 o'clock because you're so used to playing
Right.
Friday night, 7 o'clock, and then you get that. You wouldn't think it'd be a ton different, but when you get up Saturday morning and you're not used to getting ready for a game at 1 o'clock, you don't have school, you don't have your typical routine, it can throw a team off. It can shake you up a little bit. So it'd definitely be something to help.
You know, I like the idea of a county championship. However, I feel like the Clarkson Lake Orion rivalry is so deep rooted that it should be Week 9. But that's just my personal opinion. And you know, with you mentioning the Catholic League, I was wondering if we would see in the future a Lake Orion versus a Catholic League team anytime soon.
It depends on the schedule. Right now, next year is a realignment year, and there's several proposals to what the schedule will look like. So it all depends upon where the leagues are grouped. We have open dates. You know, if we ever get in the same conference, one of the suggestions is going with more of a geographic conference, where, you know, if Oxford jumps into our division, okay, Oxford now becomes within the schedule,
Right.
and maybe we have an open date Week 1. So there's that possibility there. So yeah, it depends. You never know. And we have for us, open dates are hard to fill sometimes, but by the same token, we would look to, whether it's a Catholic League team, you know, we like, because we travel so well, we get invitations of playing some marquee games, i.e. the Eastern Michigan games over the years, those type of things. So we would look at possibly maybe traveling a little bit, because you're not in school yet, so you can travel to a Muskegon, to a Traverse City, to a Rockford, to a wherever, and go play an away game, a team building experience, something like that would be tremendous.
Kyle?
I like the way it was changed last year to the OAA crossover being Week 9. Like Coach Bell said, I think it prevents the situation which you have two 8-0 teams in either the red or the white, and you know, it kind of solves that issue. It can't happen. So yeah, it's cool to see Lake Orion and Clarkson in Week 9 like we have for the past few years prior to that, but I think it's for the better to play the crossover in Week 9. So,
Sammy,
Yeah.
we can preview your Dragon's Den projections.
Well, this year, of course, I actually I'm going to go from blue to red, okay? Of course, my blue projections, I went with Avondale to go up. I have, of course, you see the blog here, my projections here. They haven't been released yet, but these are my projections for the blue. Then when you go to the white, it's very interesting. Of course, you got Southfield favored. I think Oxford have a good year. Adams, Oak Park, I think they're playoff teams. Harrison as well. Farmington, I think may have a down year. And then the red. Coach, you're going to hate me for this, but I got Clarkston winning the red this year. Home schedule is interesting. Home schedule, they got Clarkson. You guys, Stony Creek, have to come there. And then, very high on some of these teams this year. Yeah.
You're terrible. You know that, Tim? Thanks. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, I think if you look at it this year, it's very difficult. The schedule for Orion's very difficult. That's what I looked into, counted into that. And then, of course, looking at Clarkson's schedule, of course, not very impressed, but I'll have a complete breakdown in the blog. It'll be released. Next week or so.
Guys, what do you think about that atrocity we just found out?
I mean, it can go either way. Clarkson, Lake Orion, who knows? I can sit here, and because I'm a Lake Orion, I've grown up in Lake Orion all my life. Yes, I want Lake Orion to win, and I hope they win and all that, but I can't sit here and definitively tell you it's going to go one way or the other, because you never know, because ever since I was a little kid, it's always come down to that fourth quarter. I don't think I've ever seen a total demolishment of either team, and it can go either way. Right. So I can't disagree with them, but I can't agree with them. So who knows?
Just disgusted.
Coach.
Well,
we talked about
Sammy better tread lightly when he walks into the coach's office. It's not surprising to us that Sammy would pick Clarkson. We know Sammy has there's a little corner in his heart that's blue and gold in there. Love in his heart. So the rest of it's green and white, so we're not real surprised.
No. Kyle?
Well, you know it's going to be a good football game. It always is. It's going to be. It's Lake Orion and Clarkson, and it's going to come down to the wire like it usually does. I'd be surprised if it didn't. So, if Sammy feels Clarkson's got the advantage, that's his Dragon Den predictions.
Well, oddly enough, I did take into account of Clarkson's home schedule last few years. Not been very good, actually.
Who do you have? You have them with a loss, and who's going to beat them?
I got him Southfield.
Oh, you got Southfield.
I got Orion beating Clarkson.
Okay. Good man, yeah.
I got Orion beating Clarkson. All right. Before we head on out, any final thoughts on the schedule? Kevin?
No.
It's a tough slate, but we'll see
One week at a time.
Yep.
One week at a time. It's all it is. Yep.
Looking forward to watching it play out. Gotta love OAA football.
Tough schedule.
Amen.
But hoping we'll see what happens.
We'll be right back with the alumni part here on the special Lake Orion football preview show on ONTV. Back to the second annual Lake Orion football preview show on ONTV. Guys, how are you doing? Coach, Kyle?
Same old, same old.
Kevin, Rob?
Excellent.
I want to talk about something that's very dear, the alumni. I'm talking about the alumni because you've got a lot of coaches that are alumni, that are Lake Orion alumni. Also, the support of the parents. The parents are very key in Lake Orion. You notice a lot. Lake Orion travels very, very well on the road. Mention the support the football team gets in the community, Coach.
Well, this goes back to when I played here. Lake Orion is it's not just a football town. It's a great supporter of their athletics, their young people in general. You know, whether it be the play, a choir performance, a band competition. It doesn't matter. Robotics. It doesn't matter. Lake Orion has always been very much about their young people and been very supportive. Friday night football has always been special, and and that's in our players. We thrive on that. That's one of our motivating factors. Is we know that we're going to have a packed stadium. We know it's a tough place to play, and we want to make sure that we're worthy of that attention based on the effort and our preparation. And I think in terms of the alumni, in parent support, we've got wonderful parents that are a huge part of our program, and we work hard to make they allow them to be a part of it, and they all the things they do for us with our pep club, and that's what makes the experience. It's a family experience, and we need them. We need them, and we want them involved, and some of them go on to become lifelong friends, and with the players will tell you every single year. I think all these guys will attest that. It doesn't matter. The record is irrelevant. That you have a coaching staff that is going to invest everything we have into that season to make it the best experience we can for all of our players. And that's what's important. They know that. And so when we're done, the time we had together is something that is treasured, because we go through a lot of battles together. There's a lot of heated moments. There's a lot of times when you're pushed to the limit, and whatever we're doing at the time. But you emerge as it's a shared experience that you treasure forever. So seeing the alumni, I mean, when these guys graduate, outside of their families, we become their biggest fans. We keep track of where they are and what they're doing, and we're so proud of them. They have the successes when they go off to school, and it's really not surprising, because when we see the guys and the efforts that they put in, we can tell you that regardless of what happens on the football field, this young man's going to go on and be a great success. So, it's a definitely a community thing, and I think these guys, they know that the guys right now are going through the same things that they did. We may tweak some things, do some things a little bit different, but the core elements that make up a football program don't change.
I think if you look at it, Coach, I mean, like, you bring in, the alumni, who graduated, they come back, it's sort of like that feeling of like they never left. Coach, how do you feel when you come in and you see like all these stars, like you see like an alum, like I know a couple, like a Chris Mockney who came back this year. How do you feel about seeing old friends again?
Well, what's great is Chris is a great example. Chris is a great football coach. He does a great job of teaching. He's going to be coaching our JVs this year, coaching wide receivers and defensive backs in JV, and he does a great job. I've seen him coach. Brad Neary's another one. Brad Neary has been with us, and he's coming back, and Brad is a great teacher for the players. And not only that, some of your alumni, they understand our schemes, they understand how we coach, and they coach the right way. So, that really helps when you have alumni coming back, and they're able to coach for us. And also some of the middle school programs. These guys, Robert helped out last year over at Walden. He did a great job with Jim Manzo over there. So, it's all part of it. I mean, if you look at a lot of your college staffs, coaches that have been there for a long time, a lot of their assistant coaches are guys that have been GAs or former players that have come back through. So, it's kind of like, Michigan's always big on hiring a Michigan man.
Michigan State.
It's just, it's that experience is invaluable when they come back and be coaches for us. By the same token, we also, I don't want to give guys reasons to stick around. They need to go on and go away to college and do what they need to do, and then when you're ready to come back, come on back, because we'll always be here.
It's like coming back full circle in a sense.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you four, Sammy included, have played football for Coach Bell, and obviously being around the football program myself for so long, I feel like I'm part of the family as well. It's a very special feeling. It's like coming back full circle, and just coming back, helping out as an announcer is one of the greatest things. It's the greatest thing, one of the greatest things I could do for the program. Real quick, guys, I'm sorry we're kind of running short on time. I want to get your expectations for this year. What is your guys' expectations for this season? I'm going to start with Kevin, and I'm going to end with Coach. Okay, Kevin, what's your expectations for this year's team?
Expectations. OAA Red Championship, because that's always the first goal, and playoffs, which is assumed if you win the OAA Red, you're going to get in the playoffs. And then ultimate goal, obviously, state championship. Lifelong goal, make men. That's the biggest thing like Orion football did for me, was help me develop from a kid to a almost man, I guess you'd say. And I think that's more important than wins and losses, is what like the coaching staff can do in one season, is just change people. And wins, that's a part of it, but just make young guys into men. So,
Rob?
Right. I expect a hard-working team, like really blue collar, just go out and get your work done. And I expect them to have a great year and have a lot of fun doing it. Make a lot of memories. I think everyone who has played within the program can say that, it's one of the greatest things that they've done, and they'll look back on it and remember how much fun they had. So you can just expect a hard-working team and a really tight team, like a family.
Kyle?
I expect a football team that's going to go out there and play the way Lake Orion does. Character kids, guys that are going to work hard, stay true to the Orion Tough theme the program's kind of been given the label of over the years. And I expect kids are going to go out there and compete and represent the program well and hopefully win championships in the process. So.
Sammy?
I think, Orion toughness. Got to come in, create your own legacy. Create your own legacy. That is what all these teams have done. It's what my team did in 05, 08, of course, 10. Everybody's got their own legacy. They got their own journey. It's like it's a different path towards. It's like a different path, but the bar is set. It's set high here for Lake Orion.
Coach?
Well, there's two sides. Every time we go into a football game, we expect to win. We prepare. We expect to win. We believe we're going to. So, that's an expectation. But my expectation is that our guys play the best that they can with the potential that they have. If we can play to our potential a little bit above, then we feel like we've been successful. There's nothing worse than a team that underachieves. There's nothing more satisfying than having a team that overachieves. And so I expect this team, with their character, the work that they've put in, hopefully we'll be one of those teams that can play to our potential and above, and we'll see what happens. The bottom line is this: we're not going to be a big headline team. There's a lot of teams out there with this Division I guy or these transfers or this and that. So not that we ever lay in the weeds for anybody. Everybody really knows who Lake Orion is and what we're about. But we're going to be one of those teams that they may not talk about us early on, but we'll see at the end of the season. We'll see who's left standing. So
Maybe it's good to be quiet.
That's our mentality. We're going to do what we do.
It's good to be quiet.
We're going to do what we do. We'll take care of
It's
business.
good to be quiet.
And we'll see who's left standing at the end of the year.
I'm always excited for
Good to
Lake
be
Orion
quiet.
football every year. I look forward to it. Well, this concludes our episode of...
And a special shout out to Jeff Heath, of course.
Oh, special shout out to Jeff Heath in the NFL. But we're running out of time, so I wanted Jeff Heath in the NFL. What do you guys think? Briefly.
Thought he played great the other night.
Good player.
Played great the other night. And we're so proud of him and happy for him that he's got this opportunity, so he keeps it going.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on the second annual Lake Orion Football Preview Show. Coach Bell, thanks
for having me.
Kyle, thank
Pleasure
you.
to be on the show again.
Rob, thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin,
Thank you.
thank you. Thank you, guys. Have a great night from the ONTV studios. God bless.